Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs post-game show from the Ruston Daily Leader. I am sports editor Matt Bellinson, coming to you after Louisiana Tech's 12-7 victory over the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Louisiana Tech keeps bowl eligibility alive, now 4-6 overall with 2 games left. The Bulldogs do improve in their win total over the past 2 years from 3-9. Now they have 4 wins guaranteed. Obviously, if you're watching this game, Louisiana Tech, they put on a masterclass defensively. The Jeremiah Johnson's defensive unit has played like a top 30 unit all year, and has given Tech chances to win in some of these games. Definitely given away some leads as well, but for the most part, has just been a great unit this year. And you saw Saturday, they once again played a top-level offense in the FBS and limited, if not took them away pretty much from what they wanted to do. You think back 2 weeks ago, Sam Houston, at that time was the number 1 or maybe number 2 rushing offense in Conference USA. I don't even think they finished with 150 rushing yards. I think they had 1 rushing touchdown. The quarterback run game, really wasn't really all that much for Sam Houston. But you end up losing that game 9-3 because your offense was so inept, in the scoring zone. And then you think back to last week, Jacksonville State, who I know put up 44 points, but you held them well under their season averages. Gave up a couple explosive run plays, but for the most part, and obviously the Hail Mary clearly to eventually lose the game. But Louisiana Tech did its job defensively in terms of limiting Jacksonville State. And then obviously today we knew Western Kentucky, the best passing offense in this league. Louisiana Tech was going to be challenged downfield, we thought. And Caden Veldkamp, 18 of 26, 152 yards, no touchdowns. Louisiana Tech shut Western Kentucky down offensively. Hilltoppers are 3 of 11 on third down, 215 yards of offense. I think they went into the final 5 minutes of the game with 180 yards of offense. So just an all-around great performance for Louisiana Tech. Certainly the defense needs to get credit for winning this game because the offense again showed a lack of ability to put the ball in the end zone in the red zone. Buck Buchanan makes 4 field goals, and you definitely want to feel good for him. He's definitely had some struggles this year. Obviously, some big moments he's missed, and they clearly needed him today. And he made 4 of his 5 field goals. Obviously, his 48-yarder was blocked, towards the end of the fourth quarter, and you kind of thought, oh crap, here we go. Louisiana Tech's about to give away another 1-score game, and they're going to end the year with no bowl game once again, and it's just going to be the same old story. And credit Louisiana Tech. Their defense really stepped up in big moments. Obviously, a couple of the biggest plays of the game. Western Kentucky gets down to the Louisiana Tech 7-yard line, and they face a 4th and 1 from the Louisiana Tech's 5-yard line. If they kick the field goal, Western Kentucky goes up 10-9. But obviously, the Hilltoppers had struggled to move down the field consistently and had only put together 1 really effective scoring drive all day. What would be their only scoring drive. And the Bulldogs held strong. Caden Veldkamp on a quarterback power, on 4th and 1 from the 5. Jaden Burnett with some really great pressure up front, the defensive line and the secondary all kind of crashing towards the line of scrimmage. I think he lost 2 yards on that play, and Louisiana Tech took over. Obviously, Western had a chance on its final drive, starting at its own 30, to potentially go down and win. But Louisiana Tech held strong, and this defense has continued to play like a top 30 unit. You have to give Jeremiah Johnson and this staff so much credit because, there was so much talk 2 years ago when Scott Power was still here about, we really sucked in 2022 at stopping the run, couldn't get off the field on third down, didn't really, sack the quarterback that much. But don't worry, guys, we'll get it fixed this year. In 2023, they still sucked. I think they finished as the bottom 2 run defense in the country. Still could not get after the quarterback effectively. Definitely improved in the takeaway margin, but still finished last in Conference USA. And now you come to this year. You get Jeremiah Johnson as the defensive coordinator, an attacking, violent style of football. You get Jeff Burris, to coach the defensive backs for this team. You keep your linebacker and your defensive line coach. And Louisiana Tech has just completely flipped the script. Obviously this weekend of games is yet to finish, and so all the final stats are not official yet. But if Louisiana Tech, just as of right now, as I'm recording this, if you just slide what Louisiana Tech did performance-wise today, they'd be a top 15 total defense in the country. That's pretty incredible. just given where this team was last year, where they ended the year with 522 yards given up of rushing to Jacksonville State. They get blown out by Liberty, and they lose 6 straight to end last year. And what Sonny Cumbie called a common end to last year. That was kind of one of the themes that he told us post game today was he feels like Louisiana Tech, at least for today, shows some uncommon character, shows some uncommon grit. Obviously coming off a hugely disappointing, and frustrating and heartbreaking loss to Jacksonville State, where you lose on a Hail Mary, and then obviously you put up negative 4 yards of offense in overtime. I feel like it just slipped away from you. It would have been really easy to say, Western Kentucky, they have so much more to play for. Our season's pretty much shot. Let's just roll over. Let's just pack it up, and then we'll just see what happens in the offseason. And you came ready to play today. They were the more aggressive team. They established the line of scrimmage better. They dominated Western Kentucky's offensive line. It was just a great performance just to see that, for all the people out there that want Sonny Cumbie fired, that want this coaching staff fired, and certainly the wins and losses, you improved to 10-24 overall. So clearly the overall win-loss margin is still not where you want it to be. But I think that being said, for those that feel like this locker room has given up on this coaching staff, who feels like this coaching staff doesn't get collective buy-in, at least for today, and really last week too against Jacksonville State, you saw this team has not just flat out quit. I think back to last year again, to that Liberty game, to the Jacksonville State game, where Louisiana Tech barely showed up. They didn't really want to play that game. They barely put up a fight, and their opponents just kind of ran all over them. You obviously came into today knowing that, again, your offense had some struggles, but if you put together a couple competent drives and your defense continued to play the way that they played, you might have a shot. And Western Kentucky, just was completely caught off guard. I thought Louisiana Tech was more energetic. They had they were more effective at the line of scrimmage. I thought the defensive line play for Louisiana Tech was stellar today. 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. I thought Jaden Burnett, David Blay, and Jacob Fields, a defensive back, were probably the MVPs for Louisiana Tech defensively today. And, I just think it's just such a credit to this coaching staff for keeping this group motivated. Now, again, they still have a huge challenge next week going on the road to an SEC program in Arkansas, who, in their own margin, is still fighting for bowl eligibility. So you would think that the Razorbacks would come ready to play and defend their home field. But Louisiana Tech has put itself in a position with 2 games left that they can make a bowl game. I think what is most frustrating is if you're a Louisiana Tech fan and you're watching this defense week after week and you're watching this performance they put up today, it's just really frustrating that they didn't take care of business in the early portion of this season. It's frustrating that you let a bad Tulsa team come into your home building and beat you. It's frustrating that you couldn't take down a horrible FIU program. It's frustrating that you had the lead with 5 minutes left against New Mexico State and you lose. If you take care of business in those games, you're already bowl eligible. But Louisiana Tech is not. They were not able to execute at the early portions of the season. And really at times they're still not able to consistently right now. It's just their defense is playing so lights out that their offense kind of margin for error is honestly grown just because this defense is giving them opportunity after opportunity to potentially go down and win games. And again, credit Louisiana Tech's defense. They're the reason that Louisiana Tech won this game today. The Bulldogs got inside Western Kentucky's 25-yard line 3 times. They come away with 3 field goals. It was really similar, to the Sam Houston game, just in terms of not being able to execute after you put together a solid drive, and then for whatever reason, the final 15, 20 yards, you kind of sputter and you don't really do anything. And so, again, credit this defense. They flew around today. Colby Fields is probably going to be a first-team all-conference player. He definitely needs to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I know that his overall tackle numbers are probably not going to be where other guys are, but just what he does for this defense, the versatility that he can bring, just his ability to rally to the football. I just feel like he is the kind of, and you obviously see in a feature story that I have coming out, next week on Colby, he is definitely the catalyst for this defensive turnaround. And he's the reason that this defense is where it is. Again, a lot of guys are making plays, and it's definitely a defensive unit that's improved. But I think Colby's return to this team after having to sit out last year, I just feel like he and this defense, kind of their stories are intertwined just in terms of the turnaround. And so, again, give this defense credit. But again, it's really frustrating that if you're Louisiana Tech that you have this good of a defense and you're just barely hanging on to your bowl eligibility. And probably will still not make a bowl game just because I think I would just be shocked if you go on the road to an SEC program's home building and you win on the road. Again, this is only their second road win under Sonny Cumbie this year. second win under Sonny Cumbie. Period. This is their first road win of this year, I should say. And so again, if you're Louisiana Tech, you still have a lot to prove. You still have to go out there and take care of business against Arkansas, if you even want to have a shot at bowl eligibility. And so again, credit the Bulldogs. But that being said, I think one last note I would just like to hit on, just because it was going through my mind as the final score kind of came across my screen, and I don't know how fans want to react to this or not, but I think this could be the truth. And again, my personal feelings aside, I just go back to what Ryan Ivey said when I sat down with him in the preseason. One thing that he said was, "Are we winning the games that we're supposed to win? And do we win games that maybe people think we're not supposed to win, and we win those?" And obviously, like I mentioned, they've already lost huge, embarrassing losses to Tulsa and to FIU. They barely hang on against Nichols, and you lose to a bad New Mexico State team. Okay, so that's a sample size of kind of the bad. On the flip side, you were 4 seconds away last week from beating Jacksonville State, and you beat first place Western Kentucky today. And again, I know you're 4-6 overall, and you're 10-24 under Sonny Cumbie. I get it. It's bad. It's not a great record. They still have yet to make a bowl game. I understand that. Today is not, their national championship game. But there's a part of me that thinks this win today might have kept Sonny Cumbie's job intact. There's a part of me that thinks if they somehow find a way to get to 5-7, they lose to Arkansas and go to, they obviously, lose to Arkansas and you go. I guess that wouldn't be 5-7. Well, yeah, no, it would. They would get to 4-6 if they lost to Arkansas, and you beat Kennesaw State to end the year. If they end the year at 5-7, with a win over first place Western Kentucky and a near win over Jacksonville State, I could see them spin this as to saying, you know what, Sonny Cumbie is going to keep his job. I personally don't know if that's the best path forward, just based on the track record. But I think you've seen over the last month and a half that Louisiana Tech, time after time after time, has basically had stages where they could just crumble and fall apart and just quit. Sonny Cumbie told us today that that's really common, and especially for the common that we've seen from Louisiana Tech the last 2 years, where you go into November with pretty much nothing to play for, and then they really just play for nothing and they just fall flat. And now again, I know you're 4-6 overall. You still have to go on the road to beat Arkansas to even have a shot at bowl eligibility. But that said, I could see a world where this administration tries to spin it and says, you know what, we're 5-7, we're 4-6. And I think if you're 4-6, that would be a really tough sell. 4-8, I should say. I think they have to earn at least one more win for them to have some sort of shot to bring back this coaching staff. And I definitely wonder if they can. Again, Kennesaw State, they only have one conference win, but that one conference win is against a really good Liberty team. So they're certainly capable, at least for 1 week, to get up and beat you. And then obviously Arkansas is certainly no SEC power, but obviously, they're still an SEC program. They have really good athletes, a really good quarterback, and then they're playing on their home field, which again, you've only have 2 road wins in the last 3 years. So I think if you're Louisiana Tech, again, I don't know if that's a celebration or kind of a begroaning thing for fans to hear, that this coaching staff may potentially be back. But again, there's been multiple opportunities where you've gone into these games, Jacksonville State and this week, where you think, okay, you know what, this is it. Louisiana Tech's going to just throw in the towel. They're going to quit. This is over. And credit them. Against Jacksonville State, they were 4 seconds away from beating them. And today, their defense puts on a masterclass and shuts down Western Kentucky for a road win. And so, again, it remains to be seen. Obviously, we'll see what happens over the final 2 weeks of the season. But that thought just kind of crossed my mind as the final was coming about, was that could have been a job-saving win. And I think it's really, again, depending on how you want to spin it, it could be a good or bad thing if you're Louisiana Tech. But I think it's definitely a good thing just on the surface that this team has not quit. And again, whether or not they're going to make a bowl game or not, that remains to be seen. But at least up to this point, they have not thrown in the towel. They have not just let a team come in and just roll over on them. And so I think that shows at least that, whatever's changed in the coaching staff's philosophy late in the season, it's certainly improved, I guess, the buy-in and the fight of this group. But at the same time, I guess it remains to be seen if this team can finish the job and make a bowl game. So, again, that said, Louisiana Tech wins 12-7. Great defensive performance today. They improved to 4-6 overall. and 3-4 in league play. They go on the road next week to Fayetteville, Arkansas to take on the Razorbacks, and then the Bulldogs will close the season here in 2 weeks against Kennesaw State, trying to make a bowl game. So that's going to do it for this edition of Tech in 10. For the Rustin Daily Leader, I am sports editor Matt Bellinson saying thanks for listening. Have a good one.